You're listening to the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, college sports beyond the game.
Hello and welcome into episode number 4 of the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, where we talk about college sports beyond the game. My name is John Gross, thrilled to have you with us for today's episode, and we're going to be talking with a whole lot of different people in this industry. Everybody from attorneys to, we spoke to Kevin Hinchy, the founder and CEO of PAC-Hub. We spoke to a compliance officer. Today we get the chance to speak to a head coach, and we will have an interesting conversation about some of the rule differences at different levels of college athletics. But before we get to that discussion, we want to remind you that we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look, bottom of your screen, www.pac-hub.com. In this ever-changing landscape of college athletics, PAC-Hub is at the forefront of really giving coaches and student athletes the opportunity to come together, right? You have the transfer portal through the NCAA. Okay, great. PAC-Hub goes beyond that. PAC-Hub gives the information, the stats, the GPA, everything that a coach might want to know about a student athlete. They can find that on PAC-Hub. And if you're not an NCAA coach, you can utilize PAC-Hub to find players who enter the PAC-Hub portal. This is something that transcends multiple sports. It's a great way for coaches and student athletes to come together. Again, PAC-Hub is the website, PAC-HUB, pac-hub.com. Bottom of your screen, PAC-Hub connecting athletes with opportunities. Make sure to check that out. All right, episode number 4. As I said, we are chatting today with a coach, and it's somebody who I've had the good fortune of knowing for probably about 5 or 6 years now. I'm fortunate to call him a really close friend, and his name is Collin Martin. Collin is in his 6th season as the head baseball coach at NAIA Powerhouse Weber International down in Florida. He also is the head coach of the Saugerties Stallions of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, which is where I got to know him back in the day. His Weber teams are tremendous year in and year out. They are mainstays in the NAIA postseason that includes a trip to the 2022 NAIA World Series. Prior to Weber, Collin coached at the junior college level at a powerhouse program in Polk State, also at Florida Southern. And he played professionally in the Frontier League after being drafted by the Cleveland Indians, which followed a collegiate playing career at Santa Fe Community College and Weber International. So without further ado, let's bring in today's guest, Coach Collin Martin. Collin, how are you today, bud?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be back with you.
Great to see you. Thanks for coming on today. Look, you've done a lot of great things in your career, and today we're going to be focusing on many of those things, but you are the head coach at Weber International right now. Your season starts in about a month or so. What does your schedule look like in mid-December at this point of the year?
This is actually one of the first breathers I've got on the calendar for the year, and it's very brief. We had a long, productive fall, coming off, of course, a busy summer in Saugerties. Finished up right before Thanksgiving. Get the guys back for finals and back in the weight room for their testing there to close the thing out. Exit meetings, checking on grades, sending the staff home to be with their families, a couple odds and ends projects to get things ready for when they come back. We hop on the field January 6th. So really just tying up some loose ends, making sure everyone's eligible, maybe try to add a player or two at the break, and batten down the hatches, getting ready for 50 games this spring.
And you lead one of the premier programs at the NAIA level in the Weber International Warriors. Let's talk to our viewers a little bit about the history of this program. I know that when you took over, you were the assistant prior to becoming the head coach. There's a proud history of Weber Warrior baseball. So talk us through what is that history of Weber International baseball?
Well, Brad Niehammer, who is the current athletic director, he started the program. So I'm the second head coach in the program's history. He brought me back. My first full-time season was 2016. And that was kind of a getting my feet wet, getting acclimated with the NAIA level, just kind of taking some inventory. Of course, I played at Weber, but it had been a few years since I had been around the level itself. Coming off of junior college, started dabbling in some recruiting, just evaluating more than anything else. And Brad was a great guy to work for because he really allowed me to get in and get my hands dirty. We're able to hire some new coaches as the years went on and really had a successful season in 2016. We're probably one of the first few teams that didn't make the cut for our national tournament. And then 2017 had a fantastic season, ranked in the top 25 and made the national tournament for the first time in school's history. And that was kind of where this whole process all started. Of course, he handed the reins over to me in 2020 after the 2019 season, which we were a game away from going to the World Series that year. Been able to hire some great help, had some fantastic coaches over the years, and kind of gotten it to the place where the expectations to be in the postseason, winning's something that's happened for us here over the recent few years, and that's kind of the expectation moving forward.
Yeah, every time that I seem to check the rankings during the season, you guys are top 5, top 10, top 15, competing for conference titles, making noise in the postseason. What has it taken from you and from your fellow coaches at Weber to maintain this high level of success year in, year out?
It starts with the coaches. And I've been so lucky that I've had a great group of guys. Even before I was the head coach, I was acting as the associate head coach. And like I said earlier, Brad, when he brought me in, gave me a ton of leash to get in and recruit and get my hands on the program. I'm forever grateful for that. But being able to bring in some new coaches, Andy Polk was the first guy who's now pitching coach at South Florida State College, close friend of mine, grew up in this area. And after that, it's Matt Saliba, who's now my current top assistant, was 2022 ABCA National Assistant Coach of the Year. Those two guys on staff, and have had some other tremendous coaches along the way. I mean, that's where it's all started. It's too many to name down to my current staff now, but they're just baseball guys. They're salt of the earth baseball people. They kind of set the tone every day for our players. So they not only make my job incredibly easier, they deliver a message that our players buy into, and that would be the next big part of the equation. That's just, as this thing's gotten rolling year in and year out, we've had an incredible amount of buy-in from our guys. And, as a head coach, from a professional standpoint, this is what you're doing to put food on your table. That's all you can really ask for. It makes it that much more enjoyable. So that success has kind of gained momentum, and it's paved the way for the next group of guys coming in. It's kind of set that bar for them to be able to reach up and touch. It's just kind of gathered steam, and it's been a whole lot of fun.
We're going to talk about how you bring in those guys, these impressive recruiting classes that you've had a little bit later on. But just to kind of set the scene for our viewers and those who maybe aren't familiar with NAIA, people hear about NCAA, Division I all the time. NAIA, it's a different governing body. So what is the difference? What is NAIA? How does it differ from NCAA?
Well, it's the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. There are 180 different baseball programs. Don't quote me on that number, but I know that's the rough number. The restrictions recruiting-wise are probably the biggest difference. There's some softer academic requirements, but recruiting, it's pretty much wide open. There's no set calendar. There's no quiet periods. With the exception of some interconference transfer rules. For example, in the Sun Conference, you either have to have a transfer waiver signed by the head coach and the athletic director, or you have to sit out for a full season before you transfer interconference. But other than that, it's pretty much wide open. Those would be the biggest differences.
So there's no official transfer portal, right, in NAIA. How do
That's
you
correct.
then go? Right. So that's completely different than the NCAA, right? If somebody in a Division I school wants to go to another Division I school, or D2, D1, D2, D2, whatever it is, you have to enter the transfer portal. It's a little bit different, though, at the NAIA level. I know that you guys have utilized PAC-Hub as well. So what has your experience been like using PAC-Hub to get some guys who want to transfer in?
Well, really, unless somebody wants to throw you a bone, I mean, it's a separate affiliation. As you said, it's a different governing body. So there is no NAIA transfer portal. Now, of course, NAIA programs, Weber included, have benefited from the transfer portal, but unless somebody throws you a bone, you're not supposed to have access to the NCAA transfer portal. Obviously, those players are out there. It's a big part of recruiting across the board at this point. PAC-Hub has done a fantastic job of organizing all of this information for you. You know, and as names come up throughout the summer, it's something we're watching. You know, it's another difference, at least for us. And I know it's very similar now at the NCAA level, but the summers are the hot times, you know, really between March and even into August, right before school starts. That's when guys are trying to find their fit and when they're going to make their decisions to settle in. Being able to access a site such as PAC-Hub, it filters through everything for you. It's a third-party source that has not only players that are in the transfer portal, they help find the match, and there's a lot of available information aside from contact information, stats, etc., that make it a lot easier to navigate. So it's a big help when it comes to finding those transfers, especially in the summertime for us once it gets busy.
Right. And you're, of course, coaching with the Socrates Stallions over the summer, so you don't have all the time in the world to sort through things and look at social media. So PAC-Hub is a fantastic way to streamline things.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
When it does come to evaluating transfers, when you're utilizing PAC-Hub to find those guys, what goes into that process to say, hey, this guy, Joe Smith, is somebody who I want in my roster?
Well, there's a million different ways to skin it, and different coaches, different programs value different things. For us, especially the last several years, we're a predominantly transfer roster. 99% of our roster are transfer athletes. Now, we go heavy on the junior college. That's kind of where we've made our money in years past, and we still are, and we're still going to continue to do so. But the 4-year transfers come up big with a lot of the shufflings at the top and rules and policy changes. We've probably got, matter of fact, I know we have more Division I transfers on our roster now than we ever have. But for us, it's, there's two types of players. Ones that, might have been at a school and played regular, and they've got that real competitive repetition. In games, there's something to base your assessment off of, whether it's the level of competition that they're playing against. For example, if it's a guy that was playing at a Power 5 Division I or even a mid-major Division I, and they were a part-time player, but the ability might be right in line with what we feel like the best ability that we're going to see on our schedule is. You've got some look in on where they're at as a baseball player, or if it's a junior college kid, we go heavy in the state of Florida. We pull them from everywhere and got relationships around the country. I've got deep-seated roots in Florida junior college. We have a very good idea of how that level translates to our conference. So, when you're getting a guy that's played every day for 2 years and he's got 400 plus at bats under his belt, you've got a much clearer picture of what that's going to look like, and then there are your guys that, they might've been at a bigger school and were on the roster and they're obviously recruited to be at that institution for a reason. Maybe they didn't see the field. Maybe there's a development piece that's still lacking, but the talent or ability is there. You might have to dream on it a little bit more, but of course you've got to weigh that out when you're balancing your roster in terms of what your needs are.
I want to follow up on a couple of the things that you mentioned there. You referenced the talent in the state of Florida. Weber is located in Florida. I don't think people understand the talent at the JUCO level in Florida, at the NAIA level in Florida. How would you describe the talent level that you have in your team, that you face in your conference, that you see at the junior college level in the state of Florida?
Well, I feel like the way I've always viewed it, of course, your Southern teams, they've got the benefit of weather, whether it's Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, California, you've got the benefit of weather, and some of that has changed. Look no further than the Major League Draft, especially with training methods indoors and some of the indoor facilities that players have now that they might not have had access to 20, 25 years ago. But growing up in Florida, playing high school, junior college, 4-year professional baseball in Florida, and then moving into the coaching ranks at a few different levels, it's fantastic. It's really good. I mean, there's so much baseball to be played. I think that's the big thing growing up. You're always outside. I mean, we've got guys that are working out in shorts come November or when we roll back in January. But the way that I always likened it, and of course this isn't factual necessarily, but the way that I viewed it were Division I junior colleges in Florida could compete with many 4-year schools further north. Not to say that there aren't fantastic programs in the Northeast, but Division I junior colleges in Florida could compete with a lot of Division IIs and maybe even some Division Is. The D2s could compete with a lot of Division Is. And the D1s, of course, are always in the top of the mix in the postseason. And that's true in a few southern states or warm weather states, and I think everybody knows that. But, for us being here in the Sun Conference, it's one of the most competitive conferences in the NAIA. And same for the Junior College Conference, both D1 and D2, two of the most competitive conferences in the country. Division II, it's one of the best conferences in the country. And then, of course, you got your big dogs with Florida, Florida State, Miami, and a ton of mid-majors throughout the state that have all had their own level of success throughout the years. It's very deep.
A lot of great baseball talent down there in sunny Florida. When you say shorts in December and January, as a northern guy myself, I am very jealous of that. Yeah, that's something that we don't get to experience up here. You also referenced something earlier about how some of the changes at the NCAA level have kind of not really trickled down, but have led to some movement towards the NAIA level. Obviously, the transfer portal maybe taking some spots away from guys, changing how rosters are constructed at higher levels. So how have some of the changes at the NCAA level, the portal, the NIL, all that stuff, how has that impacted you guys at the NAIA level?
Well, it's impacted everyone. I think, a lot for the good. And then there's, of course, some negative, and you take the good with the bad. But this thing's fluid. It's ever changing, and it's all happened so fast. We're probably the last ones to feel the true effects of it. And there's still more that's changing and going to change. I just kind of read through loosely some of the articles, College Baseball Insider and Baseball America, et cetera. I mean, now you're hearing some of the gripes from the Division I coaches and changes that are going to be needed to policy here soon. But you look back, even starting with MLB changing. I mean, it starts at the top. In professional baseball, obviously, when they decide, however long ago it was, 7, 10, 12 years, they cut from 50 rounds to 40 rounds. And a few years ago, we cut that in half and we go to 20 rounds. The easy conclusion to come to with that is obviously there's going to be a greater talent pool in college baseball somewhere across a lot of levels. And whether that's kids coming out of high school that would have fallen below the 20th round, or that's kids in college that would have signed after their junior year. Junior college, same way. Those guys stay in college baseball. And then with the portal, of course, that's just opened things up totally. One benefit for us at the break has been, of course, the new rule, December 1st, Division I's have to have their rosters trimmed down to 34 members. They've got some things to iron out with that. And I've read some of the goods and some of the bads, but with them with the transfer student, that is, not being able to transfer to another Division I mid-year, having to go down a level, that's opened up the pool of potential matches for us at the NAIA level. That's something that's really benefited us. And then, the big one that really, I think, comes down to the NAIA is it's opened some eyes on the player side of things, the student athletes, in terms of like, this is where I was committed to go when I was 15, 16 years old. I get there on campus and I do my time for a year or two. The portal has just made this a year-to-year recruiting scheme. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. We are accustomed to operating that way because we've been so transfer oriented. It's more like a 2-year deal for us, especially since we're junior college heavy traditionally, with the COVID exceptions aside. You're turning over every 2 years. You add in a high school kid here or there, it's 4 years, but that's even changing. So now you're getting these kids that they've spent some time in a Division I, and all of a sudden they part ways. They're a lot more inclined to want to go somewhere where they feel like it's a true fit. Some of them might be enamored, or really they still prioritize the level. They love the amenities. But then there's others that just go, I want to be on the field. Like I need these live competitive repetitions. This is what I need. I want to go somewhere. I'll go somewhere in Florida. I'll go to a winning program, and I want to be on the field and be a part of that. And that's really opened things up for us.
I hear you talk about the transfer portal, and a lot of people talk about it, and just the fact that guys are staying in college maybe a little bit longer because the draft has been condensed. Some like you said, some of these high school guys going to college rather than the draft because it's been condensed. So what comes to my mind, the high school seniors who used to be getting these opportunities, maybe those opportunities aren't there anymore. Where are high school recruits left in all of this?
Well, when you're talking about the best of the best, I mean, you're talking about a very small percentage. I think that's what gets lost in this, and there's over 1,600 college baseball programs in the country. And then you boil that down to the Division I programs. And again, don't quote me on the number, but roughly 300, something along those lines. And then you boil that down to the Power 5 or the Power 4 now, and you're looking at 50, 60 schools with baseball programs. The likelihood of you playing at one of those schools coming out of high school, I mean, it dwindles down to the less than 1% number. So of course you've got your best of the best, your 1%ers that are still going to find their way there and be impactful players. But in large, it's helped. I mean, there's no telling how many freshmen were on a campus at a Division I this fall and found themselves in the portal this fall or December 1st when they have to trim the rosters down. And again, I think there's going to be some adjustments to that being made. That's probably coming down the tubes, but a lot of them, there's still a home for them. There's a place for them, but now everybody's been going around. The way that you get to that spot is totally different than it was 5 or 10 years ago.
One last question about recruiting before we get to your journey and some advice you may have to former student athletes. When it comes to, let's say, a high school guy or even somebody in the transfer portal, they're considering Weber, they're considering an NAIA school, but in the back of their mind, they're like, I think I'm a D1 guy. I think I'm a D2 guy, whatever it may be. What's your pitch to one of those people who maybe has their sights set on playing at the D1 level, but they know that Weber is an opportunity for them as well?
I mean, I feel like you should aspire to reach your goals. And if that's to play to the Division I program, the highest level, professional baseball, D2, whatever, I'm a firm believer that you should aspire to reach those goals. But at the same time, especially with the transfers that we're dealing with, and this is probably more who that pertains to, place out what you value, what's important to you. And in terms of our personal pitch, we want to make sure that we have the right guys. We want to make sure that not only are we the right fit for them, but they are the right fit for us. We want kids that are bought into what we have going on. We have the coaching staff that can foster an environment where development is at the pinnacle of this thing. But that's the big thing, is making sure you go where you're wanted and you're needed, not necessarily where you want to go. And there's great baseball being played all across the country at a number of different levels. There's a great baseball experience to go with your college education all across the country at every corner, and that's something that I think gets lost in this. Of course, there's been this surge of popularity with college baseball, and I think that is fantastic. And of course, that starts at the top of the sport, and those are the big time Division I programs. You're seeing the money that's being poured into these facilities, and I think it's fantastic. The television and streaming deals that are being made, it's very accessible. You tie that in with the fact, that minor league baseball has shrunk over the last few years. There's fewer teams. These big programs are filling these things out, and they're being seen. But it's not the end all be all. And again, that's a small percentage of the actual college athlete pool for our sport that's out there. There's still a lot of great programs, a lot of fantastic coaches. Again, lay out what you value and make sure you follow that to the right fit.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
Okay, let's dive into your journey a little bit. You were a player in college, you played professionally as well, then you get into coaching after your playing career. Was coaching always in the cards for you?
Always. I mean, that's one thing I can definitively say. I didn't know when or how or where. All I wanted to do was coach. I had a pretty good idea very early on. That's what I wanted to do, and of course I had some people to look up to in my immediate family. Followed my dad to the ballpark every day. And of course, at that time, he's a major league hitting coach and then a major league manager. So following him, watching him work, listening to him speak, being a part of those conversations at home, I always gravitated toward that. The best piece of advice that he ever gave me when I was getting into it, there's no real definitive moment post-graduation or when my playing career was done, where I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I guess I'll coach. It was just kind of like, all right, where do I coach? And I didn't care where. He always told me, go where you feel like you can learn yourself as a coach and still make the biggest impact. Get your hands dirty, learn the game in and out. And I've always just kind of followed that advice.
And when Collin references his dad, he's referencing the legendary Charlie Manuel, World Series champion with the Phillies back in 2008. My next question was going to be, what is your best advice for a student athlete who's thinking about coaching? But it sounds like that quote may be it.
Well, that's a big part of it. I mean, the number one thing for me, and I guess this comes across as old school now, especially with all the advanced teaching methods that are out there now. And it's not a knock to those at all. I think you should be a very well-versed instructor, coach, mentor, teacher, whatever you want to call it. But very early on, learn how to see the field, pay attention to the game. It's one thing that my dad always told me from a very early age. I mean, probably 14, 15, 16. He's like, if you pay attention to the game, there's certain rhythms to the thing. It'll always tell you what to do. Learn the different moving pieces around the field, and then when you boil that down, learn a little bit about every little moving piece on the field, and especially once you get into it, whether you're helping out with travel ball, high school baseball, which is where I actually started, or summer ball or small college as a GA, whatever, dive into what you don't know. I mean, that's a big piece of it. It's like, of course you're going to gravitate towards being a pitching coach or a hitting / offensive guy. But if you're one or the other, learn a little bit about a lot, then you'll find where your natural strengths lie and what you're attracted to. And much like you do as a player, learn what you don't know and take that weakness and at least bring it to sea level. Make it something that you can learn to help a future player with. It's conversation's a big part of it. And that would be my next piece of advice, is learn how to communicate. That's a very big one. Just learn how to sit down with players. And this would be, I guess, a little bit more when you're early on in your coaching career. Communicating is teaching. It's getting somebody to hear you and you hear them. And within that, a relationship is formed. There's trust. And that, to me, is the biggest part of coaching.
All right. Wise words of advice from Collin Martin. Collin, we really appreciate your time today. For all of our viewers and listeners who want to follow Collin and his Warriors this season, you can visit weberathletics.com/sports/baseball to stay up to date on all things Weber Warriors. Collin, truly appreciate it. Thank you for your time today. Best of luck this season.
John, I appreciate it. It's always a great time speaking with you, man.
Well, there you have it. Weber head baseball coach Collin Martin joining us today for episode 4 of the Around the Huddle podcast. Reminder, we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look, bottom of your screen, PAC-Hub, connecting athletes with opportunities. You can learn more by visiting PAC-Hub.com. That is PAC-Hub.com. We will be back next week with more episodes. Until then, this has been the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub.